Welcome to Penang Institute's new podcast series called The Road Ahead, where we discuss contemporary ideas that can shape our shared future. As you know, we now live in a very uncertain and volatile world where the international world order is facing a very real risk of decline. We thought that the creation of nation states and imposing a world order and its institutions could save the world from wanton wars and protracted conflicts. But we were wrong. Despite all this, we still share the same planet Earth. Natural systems do not divide us. In fact, it connects us as ever before. So what are these natural systems? What can these systems tell us about how to organize human societies? And what can policymakers do? My name is Fazil Irwan Som, and today we speak to Professor Dato Dr. Zulfigar Yasin, a marine ecologist and head of the Heritage and Urban Studies of Penang Institute. Prof. Zul, welcome to the show.
Thank you.
So let's go personal a bit. If you can tell, what was your experience as a child that got you into becoming a marine scientist? And was there something that led you to where you are now?
Okay, thank you, Fadil. Firstly, for having me here this morning. That is such a profound question. Basically, I'm from Penang, which is surrounded by the sea. And all my siblings, even my parents, took me to the shore at a very early age. So being near the sea is something which is in my DNA.
Mm-hmm.
And the interest of that, I think, is quite important to value what you have in your home, surrounded by water.
Okay. All right. So I guess that's the surrounding, the coastal surrounding is what gives you that appreciation. But is there anything else, like maybe suddenly one day you deep dive in the ocean and suddenly you see things that you don't like, or is there something?
No, actually, I remember an incident walking past one of the lecture theatres in Salford University when I was.
You're studying in the UK?
In UK,
okay,
right.
Okay.
And then a door to the lecture room was open. I passed by and I saw these beautiful slides of the undersea environment. I went into this lecture room uninvited and stood at the back. And there was a speaker in a wheelchair talking about the importance of marine life. And what took me by surprise was there was a caption at the bottom of one of his slides, beautiful slides of a seawall, very diverse underwater scene. It says there, Malaysia.
Okay.
So I was so surprised because we never realized the beauty and the profound value of biodiversity and the marine heritage in Malaysia. We rarely talk about that. Perhaps we are more land-centric. And it took someone outside to show you the beauty of your home. So from then on, I was actually hooked. I wanted to
understand more.
To understand more of this, right? And I was diving in UK. I was.
That must be very cold then. Huh?
It is very very cold. So I was teaching diving in UK.
Okay.
So I was. This is an experience. One of Malaysia's first, if not the first, diving instructor, and teaching that to a crowd who has perhaps never seen a Malaysian before, was something of an experience.
What year was that again?
This was in the early 1980s.
Okay.
But it also taught me that you have to go through this phase if you are going to introduce the beauty and the value of Malaysian marine heritage to the general public. You have to engage with a lot of people.
Right. So now you said that your time in Salford, right?
Salford.
put you into this romantic journey to understanding the beauty and the richness that we have in our marine biodiversity. So perhaps you can tell us a bit more about what is it that is so rich and profound that is found in Malaysia. Maybe you can give us some idea.
When we looked at the richness of biodiversity on the world map, okay, and you realize that the areas in red, meaning the highest biodiversity areas in the whole world, is our home. So we are in a coral triangle. Now, if the diversity of coral is taken as an indicator or a currency to compare different places in its richness for biodiversity, we are the richest place on earth, bar none. So,
like number one.
number one.
Oh wow.
Number
Okay.
one, right? We share the coral triangle with several countries.
Right.
But whether it's Malaysia or Indonesia or it's the Philippines, that's
So along those areas.
those areas.
Okay.
That's the sea. Now, the South China Sea is not included in that. Not because it is not rich, but there is very little done in the South China Sea to explore biodiversity until recently.
Okay.
Right? Or many big expeditions managed to miss that.
Right.
And of course, there's a lot of work by Australia on the Barrier Reef. And now, of course, in Indonesia, especially in the seas around Papua,
Right.
and Irian, and then south of the Philippines. But we managed to miss the South China Sea. Now we are exploring that, and we find that this is a big area.
Very rich. Huh?
Very, very, very rich area for that. And now, and then another scientist came forth and said that, okay, the richest area for biodiversity is not, if you have an area for biodiversity, it's not at the center of that area, it's the fringe of that area that is very rich. This is new because then we know that Malaysia, the fringes crosses Malaysia seas.
Right.
Right.
Okay.
And you mentioned Antarctica
Yeah.
just now. So Antarctica teaches us to focus on the very basic of processes. Because I think it's perhaps easier to see things in Antarctica, whereas the complexity of life in the tropics is much higher. So
Right,
you
right.
understand coming from Antarctica and what evolves to the place that we have around South China Sea and
Right.
and the eastern areas of the Coral Triangle. Now, what is important about the Antarctic trip is that it also trains us, right? And following that, I think I've not spoken about this, and there's always a focus on Antarctica. I've worked looking at biodiversity in the Amazon.
In the
I've worked
Amazon,
in the Galapagos seas, even in areas around South Africa.
Right.
So
right.
this gives you an indication of the diversity of the marine areas there. But I must say that if you dive once around the seas of Sipadan or the seas of Manado,
no comparison.
No comparison.
Everywhere else.
There's no comparison.
Amazing.
There's no comparison.
I heard something you were saying about I think the world has 8 species of giant clams, and 7 of them are in Malaysian waters.
7 of them are in Malaysian waters.
Amazing.
I take that as an example.
Okay.
Now, if it's a good example, telling you the areas around Malaysia and its profound biodiversity importance. There are other things, of course. many of the migratory whales
Mm-hmm.
that transect the earth oceans, in their migration north and south,
Mm-hmm.
passes by Malaysia.
Wow.
So you see, for example,
What type of whales are they?
we have Bright's whale, we have, of course, the largest fish.
Blue whale?
No, the blue whale is in the South China Sea.
Okay.
But we have turtles which are migratory too. They passes by this area. So
So we are one big highway, basically.
we are one big highway.
One big crossover.
And this is apart from the ones that doesn't move of the coral reefs. So these are habitats and ecosystems.
And I think you said before also that there are 23 coral species in the Atlantic, but in Malaysia there's 250 species.
So
That's a huge
just about
difference.
that, yes, but if you think about this, that's not in Malaysia. There's only one island, small island
Oh.
in Malaysia.
Where all these 250 species are?
Yeah, where the 250 species are.
Wow, where is that?
That
We
is
want to know.
in Johor.
In Johor.
In Johor, right? So the Johor Islands are super rich, right? And of course, Malaysia is fortunate in that many of the islands, smaller islands,
Mhm.
are now marine parks, so they are protected. So there is some measure of protection by Malaysian law that you cannot destroy the islands. You have to, it is under the Department of Fisheries. You have to look after them. But if you move to the center of the South China Sea, in the contentious territories, there are still some very beautiful reefs, and these reefs are not protected. You can see a lot of damage on some of the reefs
Okay.
by dynamite fishing, by using poisons, and it's a shame because we hardly know anything about them. They must be super rich. If we, by the ages, has found that this terrific amount of biodiversity, those areas are. I remember going to an area during our national expedition, the ROSES expedition. ROSES stands for the Research on Seas and Islands.
Yep.
Right, back in 2004. 2004. And some of the reefs that we saw there are extremely rich, richer than any of the reefs that we see in Peninsular Malaysia. There is richness of corals, but also the diversity of fish in that particular area. So that's why people go there and destroy the reefs, taking fish. But there is also this notion that if you study marine life, you are introduced into the weird and wonderful ways of life.
Okay.
Right. So I'll give you an example. If you look at a human eating, and take that in slow mo, you'll see people taking food, putting it in their mouth, they chew, and then it goes into their throat and goes into the stomach. So you think everybody else does that. So I said, why not, instead of the food going into your stomach, why don't your stomach go to the food?
Okay, then how does
Right.
it work then?
Well, starfish do that, right? They extrude their stomach onto some mollusks, some shellfish, dissolve them, and then slurp it up again.
With the stomach.
Withdraw their stomach back
withdraw
into the
it, so-
body.
okay,
For example,
okay.
some shellfish do that. If we are so engaged now on gender, right? But do you know that all groupers are male when they're young, and at a certain age in their life cycle, they become females.
Right.
So if you ask if they can talk, perhaps than if you ask the grouper. Been there, done that, and and these are profound things.
Right.
And diving in the South China Sea, looking at some of this extreme beauty, you realize there's so little that we know. There's a place in Trombo Siput, where I mentioned before, that fluoresces at night underwater.
Wow.
And you begin to wonder, why is this fluorescent? What is it? Some corals shine at night underwater,
Wow,
like
that
the
must be
stars,
really beautiful,
like the
no?
stars in the sky.
So it does radiate the whole
It
ocean.
radiate the whole area,
Wow.
right? And those areas are also areas near the continental slope, right, north of Sarawak, and animals from the deep come to the shallow seas at night. They migrate vertically.
The big ones.
The big ones.
Okay.
Right.
I'm definitely not going for a night dive.
Right. And some you have never seen. If you dive in the day, you'll never see them. The nautilus, for example, comes from the depth of the ocean.
What is a nautilus?
Nautilus is a snail, a shell,
Okay.
with a beard. And tentacles that looks like beard, and they are one of the oldest organisms that still are around. They were there before the dinosaurs.
Wow.
And they come up, and if you dive at night in the South China Sea, you might be able to catch a glimpse of these prehistoric animals.
Prehistoric
coming
animals.
to
Oh
the
wow.
night.
I remember also they discovered a new species and they named it after you.
No.
Oh,
Okay.
what the species is that?
As well, part of my training is in taxonomy.
Okay.
So I suppose when I was younger and I discovered species,
Okay.
I name it after, of course, your sifu, or someone you know who's contributed a lot. You never name a species after yourself.
Okay.
That's a no-no. I suppose my children, my students, when discover new species, some of them name it after me. So
okay. You mean to say there's more than one?
there's more than. There's a few.
Okay.
There's a few. Yes. Yeah.
So there's a lot of
Zulfigari.
Zulfigaris around in the
Yes,
sea.
in the sea.
Interesting.
Yeah.
You mentioned about Antarctica.
Mm-hmm.
That must be a really difficult, challenging journey.
Yes.
Because
yes,
it's not
it
really the most pleasant place to go
Right.
for anyone. So, can you give us some picture? What was it about? How arduous was that journey?
I mean the southern, before you reach Antarctica,
Mm.
if you depart, say, from Tasmania, or you depart from Cape Town or from New Zealand, you have to cross the Southern Ocean. The Southern Ocean is one of the roughest seas in the world, and that contributes to a lot of the quote unquote horror stories that we mentioned.
Like what, icebergs?
So icebergs and
Giant waves.
Yes, giant waves, bad weather, and as you go further south, it gets worse.
Crazier.
So you have names like the Roaring 20s, the Screaming 60s. And the 20s and 60s is the latitude. As you go south, you cross another line. So you reach areas which is terribly rough. But fortunately for us, we were traveling with, I think, a very, very experienced crew.
Right.
With the Australian Antarctic Division. And I was never in any doubt that we were in
Good
our
hands.
safety was compromised. Never.
Okay.
But you still feel.
So I guess you would see like huge giant waves above, on top of.
Yeah. Sometimes from my window in my room, sometimes you see the sea from above. Sometimes you see the sea from below the water.
Oh my word!
So it's the wave just lift up the whole ship, and then the whole ship dives in a wave.
That
So
must
that's
be a
when you
really
see
scary
you are
feeling.
in an aquarium, and then it lifts you up again.
Okay.
And it is not once. If you have bad weather, it's sometimes for 3 days.
Oh, wow.
So and that is, and you are not allowed to go outside. The ship is sealed. The ship is sealed. But of course, you are in this cylinder,
Right.
shaken and thrown about. But I think once your mind accepts this, you get on with what you have to do. Yeah.
So tell us about the Antarctica. I mean, what is the picture like? Lots of ice,
There is a lot,
icebergs.
and as you pass this passage of the Southern Ocean, then you spot the first ice, very small, and there is a competition on board the ship that who spots the first ice gets an extra cake or something like that. Yeah, and these are the remnants of iceberg. Maybe half a meter high floating ice.
Wow.
But as you go further south, it gets bigger and bigger and bigger.
And some of the ships also, they are, how do you say? They break the ice, right?
Yes, the Aurora, which is
your ship, yeah.
is an icebreaker. So I think it's a class 3 icebreaker.
Okay.
So it's that.
I don't know what that means, but
tells you it can cross an ice passage with
however thick,
with a
with a
certain
certain
thickness.
thickness. Okay.
Right. So some are icebreakers, but they can only manage certain thickness of ice. But some can go ahead and crack. And of course, when you start to reach this area of the sea, this zone, and you can see the big icebergs, they are there. To give you an example of some icebergs are half the size of Penang.
Oh, wow.
And there is only, remember, it's only 1/8 above water. 7/8
wow.
is below water.
Oh,
So
no.
imagine how huge
Amazing.
these icebergs are. And the smaller ones, they're beautiful. Antarctica is beautiful.
But when you say beautiful, because it's rough terrain, it's very, very cold.
Well,
Are you saying that there's abundance of marine?
There's abundance of marine life.
Marine life. Okay.
There's abundance of marine life.
Did you guys go down into
Yes,
the underwater?
Yeah, underwater. Yes. And
I hope you had special equipment.
we had special equipment. We have doctors on standby.
Okay.
And apart from that, if you look at Antarctica, it's the cleanest
Yes.
area
of
on
course,
Earth.
No pollution.
Right.
Nothing
Antarctica
is
is huge. It's a continent. To give you some idea, the seas that we were crossing will be frozen in winter. And how long will that passage be when it freezes up from the shore to the tip of where it freezes? Will be about 1,000 kilometers.
Oh my.
So it's the scale of Antarctica is huge.
Massive. Huh?
It's massive. All the whale species are there. They come very close to the ship. You can smell the breath of the whales.
The breath of the whale.
Fishy
smell.
after they have been feeding. And the scientists will go up taking their DNA to put it in a database and to look at
While they're alive. I mean, while they're
yes,
alive,
yes.
you just
They just pick a
scrape
piece
it
of
off.
skin.
Okay. Okay.
Right, the whales will not feel anything. So
Right,
huge
right.
leviathans. And then, of course, there are the penguins. You don't get polar bears. Polar bears are in the Arctic. There's no polar bears in Antarctica.
So
And there's no
they're only at the Arctic.
And the Arctic. And there's
Right.
no penguin in the Arctic, but only in Antarctica.
So the penguins are saved.
The
by
penguins, yes. Right. You never see a polar bear eating a penguin.
So what is an apex predator in the Antarctica?
Some of the cetaceans are apex predators. The killer whales are apex.
The killer whales are there. Okay.
The killer whales are there. You can see the pods. Then the other apex predator are the leopard seals, right?
With their long fangs.
No, teeth like cats.
Ooh. Okay. But they're slower. Because they're seals.
Not in water, they're not.
Yeah.
Right,
Which is dangerous, right?
And I didn't know this, of course. My focus was on the marine animals. I remember in Casey Station, Australia, I was walking on the beach, and there was this seal following me. I thought it was cute. So I was looking at as a pet, and of course the seal was looking at me as dinner. And when we walked past, it was.
This was in Australia.
Australian station.
Oh, the Australian station in Antarctica.
On Antarctica.
Okay,
On
okay.
Antarctica, right? So of course, then you see the huge elephant seals. So when they stand up on their haunches, they're about 7 feet high.
Oh, wow.
And you get one male with a harem of females, and all the other desolate males on the outside trying to get into the harem. Huge.
Into the harem.
One animal weighing about 3 tons.
Oh, wow.
Right. So this is a new world. This is a
Completely new world.
New world. It's
Amazing.
It's some of the areas has never had anyone stepped there before. Right. So it's clean. How clean is that? When I came back from Antarctica in Tasmania is by Penang standards very clean. But when I came back from Antarctica to Tasmania, a lot of the scientists on board the vessel who just returned went down with fever and flu. Because after staying in Antarctica, a place that is so clean, when you come back to Tasmania and you breathe Tasmanian air,
it's not the same.
It's not the same, and there is relative pollution in the water, in the air. It's still very clean. I hate to think if I had flown back straight to Malaysia.
To Penang.
So this is how clean it is.
Okay.
This is incredibly clean. Yes.
But so, when you were there, what can you see in terms of the drastic changes? In terms of the ecosystem because of climate change, was there anything that was changing quite drastically there?
Climate change was not a hot topic then.
That was what when were you there in Antarctica?
Well, it's starting to be talked about, but it wasn't as
that was in
as talked about
1990s,
now.
was it?
No, in early 2000.
Early 2000s, okay.
2000, right. People were talking about the ozone layer. I remember. But it's good to be able and to talk to senior scientists,
right,
in the ship, where you don't work 24 hours, of course. So you get their insights, you learn from them, their experience. You talk to the crew on how to do expeditions. You talk to the scientists on how so it's, apart from it being a voyage, it's a 3-month conference. And you bring back that knowledge with you. You get trained, and you try to look at some of the things through that lens when you come back to Malaysia.
Okay.
And you realize, some things should be done. Something should be at least deliberated on. And it is the responsibility of scientists to bring back that message.
Okay.
Yeah.
You are listening to The Road Ahead. But don't go away. See you in the next section.